Obviously, this is many years back. As I remember, it was 1999 that, actually, right before that, in 1997, I finished my PhD from Indiana University, and then I returned home in the summer of that year, and I started teaching at a university in Korea. And when I came back in 1997, one of the first things which really was surprising and also even annoying was seeing everybody bringing a little pager. By then, Koreans called it PP, mimicking the sound of the little device. And literally everybody was bringing that little pager with them. For men, they usually attached it to their belt. Ladies brought it in their bags or, clutches or whatever. And of course, I didn't have one. And seeing how people are being amused with that newly arrived devices. But soon after, people were asking the number of my pager, which I didn't have. So I was feeling a kind of strange pressure from the people that as if they are telling me, as if I have one, I must have one. But I was still feeling uncomfortable having, this pager and making myself available to anybody's, sudden call. But it didn't last long. Just a couple of months later, my brother gave me a pager and then asked me to bring it around. So that's how I began using that little pager. It was interesting, the idea of being instantly called by people, and I also can be in reach to anybody, immediately. And soon after, I found myself, getting accustomed to use this little device so quickly. And at some point, we were behaving as if this is going to stay with us forever. But actually, a surprising thing is, in a very short time, that was quickly replaced by the early forms of like mobile phones. There was a very short-lived technology named as city phone in Korea, very early model of mobile phones, very limited in its capacity of communicating. But then we were already very much fascinated with new devices coming after, one by one. So in a couple of years, we were fully, moving into the world of mobile telephony at that point, and I thought it's really interesting. It's not just the enhanced convenience in communication, but I was kind of thinking this is going to be a revolution in changing the mode of life, the social organizations, the way how people are getting in touch each other in many ways. But this was long before what smartphone arrived. So the mobile phones that we are now using is not at all the same to the mobile phones of early days. The early days mobile phone was very simple, just calling and then sending a very simple messages, incomparable to the complexity of the little device now we are using. That having said that, I think I was really fascinated with the sort of hidden power of this newly arriving technology, and then I thought this probably is the beginning, and there will be many more exciting things to come. So I started to pay attention. That's how I got I got hooked up. Since I'm not a scientist or technician in developing mobile communication technology itself, there was just a wonder how it all arrived. Before I even came back to Korea, just a couple of years before, I got a call from my engineer brother from Korea, wanting me to buy a device from Motorola, because Motorola now is almost forgotten from the field, but it was obviously a technology pioneer of mobile communication at the time. So supposedly Motorola new device was the frontier device at the time. So technology-wise, I really have no idea. I had no reason to pay attention on how the mobile devices finally arrived to us, but and there was, I think, even a kind of certain resistance, especially in the American society, when Motorola introduced the devices in the middle of 1990s. That is very much like typical Americans, as I see it. Hey, this device is like stepping over into our personal spaces. We don't want to be interrupted. I can call whenever I want to call. I don't want to get interrupted by this unexpected calling. Why should I be called not following my own wheel, something like that? So I probably, but then even at that time, I remember, there was kind of pros and cons of these new devices. Hey, but this machine is giving us a sheer, sense of comfort, sense of security, as well as the convenience. So why not? We can accept it, and we can make use of it for our own usage. If you don't really want it, you can turn it off. Whatever kind of discussions were there. But then I feel all these social discussions, including the academic discourses, were very much driven, by the continuous arrival of new machines, new devices, new functions, because they kept coming in such a speed. Where I guess, I never really paid too much of attention on what happened at that moment, but now it really brings me a lot of small moments related to the arrival of mobile phones. When mobile communication or the mobile phone came, obviously people were fascinated at seeing the new technology that we never really, for normal people, ordinary people, never expected that much. So many of the research was focusing on sort of technology diffusion. The new technology came, how it is diffused in different societies in such a speed and magnitude. We've been using the line telephone for almost a century, but we never really paid too much attention on the peculiarity of the line phone. Probably in the case of the line phone, most of us took it so much granted. Line phone was there throughout our lives, and it's when something is so familiar, then you need not pay attention. You don't even feel the need of paying attention. And plus, because we never experienced the times before the arrival of line phone, and then after the arrival of the line phone, we have no sight of making comparison. So the phone pervasive situation was so much, familiar. We never raised the question. We never brought our scientific sort of inquiries to the line phone itself. So interestingly, there are not many social science research on telephone itself. Very few publications of research. But when mobile telephony arrived, we were exactly at the situation where, making the comparison before and after, So before, without having mobile phones, and then having mobile phones, what is changing, how this is interesting, what kind of new impacts are being produced by the arrival of new technology kind of things. So this observed the research attention at the initial stage. So there are a lot of reproduction of similar research. You just choose different society, different momentum where the mobile communication is being introduced and applied, used, and then how different impacts are being produced. Again, media studies have long been dominated by the effect and impact-oriented observations. So this, I think, was squarely applied to the mobile communication research at the beginning stage. But then after many of us, including myself, began feeling a little bit, tired of seeing the repetitive applications of the same research. And around that time, I think, people began diversifying the sort of meaning of mobile communication, which is not necessarily focusing only on the device itself or device features, the new technological features, but trying to figure out the bigger and wider meaning of mobile telephony in the entire society, connecting to the social change, social transformation, and together with the mobile telephony, other media technologies also developed quite quick. Internet, for example, So eventually we've been seeing the marriage of mobility or mobile communication and internet communication. So fully immersed into the mobile internet age. And suddenly we began seeing ourselves consuming all these communication contents or media contents through mobile phone, which is no more, not simply the phone anymore, So especially when it moved to a smartphone age, mobile phone was no more a phone, but it's like a mobile device. So we don't have the name, new name, because we thought the mobile phone is still good enough, Interestingly, at some point, people began, people stopped using cell phone. It changed the name from cell phone to mobile phone. This is particularly in the U.S. context. In Korea, we never used the cell phone that widely. So, but even in the U.S., I guess at some point, there's no a national referendum, changing the name of cell phone to mobile phone. But people, naturally change it, the ways of calling it from cell phone to mobile phone. Probably duplicating with the extension of the phone functioning from not simply the phone function, but to wide range of applications. Right. I have no idea, how and where the research of mobile phone or mobile communication is moving toward, maybe to every direction. I can't tell that I made a major contribution to the development of mobile communication research, but for sure, I'm the first one who wrote a social scientific research paper in mobile communication in Korea. And I brought myself to the very first, as I remember, international workshop on mobile communication initiated by James Katz, 1999, December, Rutgers. I didn't expect too much at that time, but after spending a few days at the workshop, I found, I was no longer the same person. I was really drawn into that small group of research at Rutgers and met people from different parts of the world. Jim was very successful in bringing all these people from different parts of the world and creating, this small and, well-bonded group where I met Ruchling and Leopoldina Fortunati from Italy, Akiva Cohen from Israel. Exciting, At the end of the workshop, I thought it's not a good idea to say goodbye and scattered. So I initiated a continuous call. Hey, we cannot stop here. We should keep going. And suggested that I might organize a successive occasion in Korea. If not next year, but sooner. And I think the idea was immediately picked up by Jim again. Hey, maybe you're right, let's see what we can do from here. And then the meeting, at the beginning, it was not meant to be a annual, rejoinder, but it became. So, 2 years later, I was organizing a pre-conference of ICA in 2000. Oh, that was already, that was later in 2002. But, I was organizing the first pre-conference of mobile communication at that time. You know what? My first research paper on mobile communication bared a newly coined concept, which is Homo telephonicus. Because I thought the mobile phone is much more than just a new phone, and it's actually contributing to the arrival of a new kind of man, humans equipped with this like mobile machine wherever they go, and which is creating a new ways of human interaction, new capacity of human communication. So I tried to figure out this new human with the term of Homo telephonicus. I'm sorry that the new concept was not, was never really widely dispersed, but I still remember that it was very interesting momentum. And I also wanted to capture the capacity of mobile communication in the perspective of overcoming spatial and temporal barriers, or limits for humans, and mobile communication is certainly giving us the capacity of enhancing our, mobile capacity, not only the mobile capacity, but as I just mentioned, preparing a new space of human communication. So these are the things that I wanted to discuss and then bring to the community of research. Well, for the research of mobile communication, now we have already arrived at probably we have already passed the flowering moment, because mobile communication really reached to the peak of, technology, because we are fully mobile communication tribe in our history. But then it's creating both crisis and then opportunity together, because since mobile communication is everywhere, when everything is mobile communication division is nothing special, because everybody, even if you're not a member of mobile communication division, then, people are still doing the research on mobile communication. So then why should we separately have a mobile communication division? But at the same time, since mobile communication has become so much central and important to every field of communication research, that's pushing up the value and the specificity, the uniqueness of mobile communication research. So in a way, it's like a double-sided momentum, I guess. I've been talking to my friends that mobile communication has to be paying more attention on a higher level of conceptual work. For example, mobile communication is, for me, expanding to the very notion of mobility. What is mobility? How mobility is coming with us in the 21st century in human society. And this mobility is also connected to the modernity, Long years ago, in 1960s, there was a sociologist, Daniel Lerner. Daniel Lerner made himself a turning point in developmental sociology in 1960s with the book of The Passing of Traditional Society. And in his seminal book, Daniel Lerner was already discussing how the modernization is being promoted by the application of mass media. Mass media by then was like a newspaper and radio, But similarly, the application of mobile communication or ever-changing new technologies in mobile communication is still pushing us to be modernized even further. Of course, there has been a lot of disputes about the notion of modernization and modernity, and a lot of criticism to the grand idea of modernization. But I still believe the modernity has not yet over. So the very notion of mobility and modernity attempted by Daniel Lerner, half a century ago, is still valid, and it's good time for us actually to revisit. And plus, we are even seeing the globality, of our times. So mobility, modernity, globality has become my frequent topic of lectures these days. And I urge my friends to pay attention on these topics together with me. I think it's out of question. Mobile communication division will thrive because the mobile communication itself is indispensable. Is at the core of our modern life. So I guess mobile communication division will find endless jobs to do. Endless topics. Newly emerging. So it's just try not to be specific, because this is a time for expansion, time to include more and further than trying to be like isolated or specialized into a certain small pigeonhole, you know. So I think the mobile communication division should really be like more like expanding and a lot more inclusive. I guess this talk is actually, in a way, renewing my interest in mobile communication after a while. So, for sure, I'll be attending the mobile communication division in my next participation in ICA, and try to reconnect myself to the like a rising new young scholars like you.